The military's drawdown from Iraq is the largest movement of troops and materiel since World War II. But many Iraqis wonder what the U.S. occupation accomplished, with many issues unresolved, including this one, whether Iran ends up the big beneficiary.
It's yet to be determined. It is yet to be determined.
But how unbelievable, if you really think about it, that we came in here, we overthrew Saddam Hussein, and Iran, you don't even know if they're going to end up being more influential than we are. That's a wow.
Well, 6 months of this would be a step in the right direction.
Well, a step in the right direction.
Not another week of runaround.
The average for each of the claim that you paid out is $5,000.
No more BP. Blame me. Don't blame BP anymore.
Ken Feinberg is the go-to guy for thankless jobs, America's arbiter of human suffering.
Why don't you open up the purse string?
And his latest assignment, deciding who should be paid for damages from the Gulf oil spill, is one of his toughest yet. They really go after you.
They do, but it goes with the territory.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
You don't see the richest woman in the world in the public eye very often, but we caught up with her to see how she and her husband are doling out their fortune. What would you do with $60 billion? Bill and Melinda Gates have a plan, and tonight, you'll hear all about it.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Scott Pelley. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes.
If you know this man, you know he's the go-to guy for thankless jobs, America's arbiter of human suffering. Kenneth Feinberg is his name, and we first met him when he was asked by the government to adjudicate the 9/11 Victims Fund, to place a monetary value on each of the almost 3,000 lives that were lost. And there were the Agent Orange victims and the Virginia Tech massacre victims, and now, in sheer numbers, the biggest headache of all, compensating the thousands and thousands of angry people affected by the BP oil spill. Feinberg's been holding town meetings for weeks now in the Gulf states, where, armed only with his reputation and a $20 billion pot of money, he calls for patience and accepts all blame.
I don't care what BP did before. No more BP. Blame me. Don't blame BP anymore.
Feinberg may be perceived by most Americans as the fairest in the land. If not for looks, then surely for his judgment. But to the shrimpers, oystermen, boat captains, restaurant and hotel owners, and their employees, all of whose lives and livelihoods have been completely upended, he is seen as a penny-pinching Scrooge when they wanted a beneficent Santa Claus.
We had Katrina. We had a down economy. Now we got the spill. You can't tell me one person that has not suffered. Why don't you open up the purse strings?
Here's my answer. Don't trust my words. My words, you've heard a lot of talk. Let's just see over the next few weeks and months, have I delivered on my promise to help people in Mississippi?
Ever since the Deepwater Horizon blew last April, it was clear that this was a disaster in the making. The fishing industry came to a stop. Tourism was wrecked. The livelihoods of hundreds of thousands, anyone who was dependent on these waters, were in deep jeopardy. Under pressure from the federal government, BP agreed to create a victims' compensation fund. Both BP and the White House wanted one man, Ken Feinberg, to administer it.
I felt that if asked, I should step up and try and help as best I can.
What is it about Ken Feinberg that makes him the nation's arbiter of impossible decisions?
I think there's something that experience brings to the table in terms of getting these problems solved.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
This 64-year-old lawyer's experience in mediation and placing monetary value on human suffering is unmatched. President Obama made him his pay czar, where he cut the salaries of executives of companies that received government bailouts. But it was his role as special master of the 9/11 Victims' Compensation Fund that was his greatest challenge and likely his lasting legacy.
9/11 was a horrific experience because you were dealing with traumatic death, where people said goodbye to loved ones that morning and never saw them again, incinerated, no body to bury. This is different, but it's very, very emotional, BP, very emotional. It's not death, it's more what does the future hold in terms of my ability to earn a living.
He has $20 billion of BP's money to dole out as he sees fit.
Bring it on, baby.
The idea behind the fund is similar to 9/11. Persuade people to accept payment for their losses up front instead of engaging in long and costly and uncertain lawsuits against BP.
It's a free country. If you want to come into the fund with all the benefits of the fund, come on in. You're welcome. We'll give you a fair shake. We'll process your claim. We'll pay what you do. If you don't like what we're paying you, if you think we're nickel and diming you, if you think we're not being fair, opt out and go the other route. Now, in 9/11, 97% of all eligible claimants entered the fund. Only 94 people out of 3,000 decided to litigate.
But in the Gulf, he must evaluate not human life, but something much more vague, economic loss. Everything from the price of shrimp that won't be caught to hotel rooms that won't be occupied.
I've got a retail business been destroyed.
I have a mortgage company, and my territory is the Gulf Coast.
And my phone's not ringing at all now, and I'm usually fishing 5 to 6 days a week.
And I catch oysters. I ain't worked since April.
Even though most fishing grounds have reopened, the market remains wary of Gulf seafood and its beaches. Feinberg looks and listens, an endlessly moving target. He takes his hits at meeting after meeting, makes his pitch, and moves on. If it's Tuesday, it must be wherever.
Where did I start yesterday? From New Orleans, right? Up to Alabama, yeah.
We joined him at the crack of dawn, where he was calmly preparing for another day of personal abuse.
With all due respect, 5,000 people have got checks. That's not enough.
5,000 out of 20,000 claims? Sucks. That's not very good.
It's 10 days now. Can we take whoever programmed this, take them down in the swamp, drop them off for 10 days, and let them wait on us to go pick them up to see how it feels to keep waiting?
I don't think you should keep waiting. I told you you wouldn't have to keep waiting. I can't speak.
It's a contradiction of your words, sir.
I know. There may be. It won't be the first time.
Yes,
I'm trying.
Feinberg acknowledges he's dealing with a weary and frustrated population who may distrust a hotshot lawyer with a Boston accent.
What these fishermen and others want to see are checks and compensation, not promises from somebody from Boston. And that is an obstacle that I try to overcome in part by coming down here and meeting with these people.
This is what, your 14th or 15th trip down here?
I think so.
Do you feel that the tide is somehow turning in your favor, that people say, okay, let's give them a chance?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, 6 months of this would be a step in the right direction.
Well, a step in the right direction.
Not another week of runaround.
The average for each of the claim that you paid out is $5,000, and that's for 6 months, and that, sir, is nothing to be bragged about.
They really go after you.
They do, but it goes with the territory. I mean, you go in there expecting that you're going to receive that criticism, and woe be unto you if you hide. That is a mistake. You cannot hide.
Feinberg admits the program had a rocky start, which only added to the mistrust. These fishermen agree. What did you make of that meeting?
I think he sounds sincere, but there's a lot of niches in the system that he needs to get right. And he was supposed to be so generous with the payments.
Do you believe what he's telling you?
Absolutely not. I think he's just another attorney talking his talk.
But you don't think his record in dealing with 9/11 was an honest job?
To be honest with you, I could care less about 9/11. I care about this oil spill, and I could care less about anybody else's claims. I care about my claim.
But see, it's our responsibility to do what we did here today, okay? Put them up against the wall, make them do what's right.
Feinberg runs the fund from his office, where for a moment he soothes his savage schedule with opera, exchanging one real grand disaster with a more melodious fictional one. His private life is private, but in the role of arbiter, he is remarkably accessible. He has an army of about 1,500 people and 35 centers in the Gulf to sort through and process what could amount to over 100,000 claims. He devised a two-step claims process. First, a 6-month emergency payment with no strings attached.
These emergency payments are designed to help claimants meet their immediate financial needs. No release required, no obligation.
And then after that comes the so-called final payments. Correct?
That's right. That's more controversial, because with the final payment will come the requirement that the claimant release BP from any suit, any lawsuit.
And that is a tough call. Though scientific studies are underway, no one can predict the full effects of the Deepwater Horizon spill. How can these fishermen calculate what future losses they may suffer?
We won't know what to file for until we find out what the scientists say is really happening out there.
What I'll try and do is work with you to make sure that the payment I'm giving you will minimize the risks that you're worried about.
Further complicating matters is a local business culture that's not renowned for keeping records. It's mainly cash on the line.
We still do business as we did 40 years ago. Do a job, maybe a $20,000 or $30,000 job with just a handshake, not even a piece of paper. But in this town, handshakes still mean anything, am I right?
Yes.
A handshake is still important, and we don't want to be deprived of that. And I don't know how you're going to work with us on that, but a lot of it was cash money, a lot of it was handshakes.
I can't pay money on a handshake. It can't be done. I don't care about documentation. Do you have somebody who will come in and say, here's a letter, I will vouch for this man, I know him, and we had a handshake deal for X, signed, friend, something like that, other than, you see this? Pay me.
With $20 billion available, it's not surprising that there may be a certain degree of hanky-panky going on. Do you think there is much fraud out there?
Let me put it to you this way. After the oil spill, I ain't never seen so many commercial fishermen in my life. They had so many people in line in the meetings, I'd never seen these people. And I'm behind them in line. And I asked some of the other fishermen, you seen that guy before? You said, no, I never seen that guy before. No, it was comical.
So far, Feinberg has paid out almost $1 billion in emergency claims. But the real test will come with the lump sum payments, whether people take the money and run or sue BP.
I don't want to get tied up in litigation for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. Who knows how long it'll take.
The thing is, Mr. Safer, none of us are trying to get rich off of this deal.
That's right.
We just want to get back to normal, get our lives back, pay us what damage you did, let us go on with our lives.
Feinberg's life, for a good part of the last decade, has been steeped in other people's misfortune. His reputation remains unsullied, but this tragedy, so large, so complicated, could be a man's undoing.
Oh, I don't worry about that. Ted Williams never batted 1,000. I mean, my credibility is only as good as the latest program that I'm administering. And you can't do these projects worried about what people are going to think.
But is your most powerful weapon your reputation?
Definitely not. My most powerful weapon are the checks going out. That's all that matters here.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
And he will. Under increased pressure from both victims and the administration, Ken Feinberg announced this past week that he would make the program more efficient, more accessible, and more generous.